What's good, my good people? I'm curious, have you ever thought about starting your own podcast, but you just don't know where to start? If so, I'm about to put y'all on. Have y'all heard about Anchor? Well, if you haven't, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Hold up, let me explain though. First of all, it's free. There's also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. How easy is that? Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything, literally everything you need to make a podcast in one place. If you're curious about it, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Now, enjoy the show, y'all. Peace. All right, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of the Blessed Beyond Measure podcast. I'm your host, CL The Source, and today I got a fun one for y'all, man. I got one of my good homies with me, man. One of the easiest people to talk to, super cool dude. This dude knows everybody, man. He's like the neighborhood cool guy, bro. But my boy, Rommel Babiera?
Yeah, Babiera.
There we go. Yep, hey, man. I had to ask him before we got on here how to pronounce his last name because I didn't want to butcher that. But hey, thank you, my guy, for joining us, bro. I appreciate you spending some time and jumping on the podcast. We've been meaning to do this for a while, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this over a couple of bike rides and just, came up with some ideas. But, I'm really happy to finally kind of hop on and just kind of shoot the shit, man, and just talk.
Hell yeah, man. I'm happy to have you on finally, bro. And my apologies for kind of lagging on this shit, man. But, either way, we got you on board. And, I really wanted to get you on here, man, because like I said, you are one of the easiest people to talk to. Every time I run into you, man, it's super easy to just chop it up. And, man, I felt like one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to bring you on here was to talk about fatherhood, bro, because I've always been so curious about that. I know you're a father of 3, bro, and I kind of just wanted to pick your brain and see how that's going for you, man. You got 3 little ones. Well, actually, I think you got like a teenager now too, right?
Man, I mean, she's currently a senior in high school.
Oh shit.
So that blows my mind, man. Somebody once asked me, like, if you can do it all over again and pick the age that you can have your first child, what would it be? And I thought about it for a second, and like, honestly, I don't think I would change anything, man. I had my kid very young. And, I didn't know what I was doing, but, I feel that, at the place that I was personally in my life when I did have her, that she like truly is an angel. You know what I mean? She kind of like made me step up my game and kind of got me to where I'm at right now with my career or even providing for the family, Mm-hmm. So, man, being a father, it's crazy. It's the most wildest thing like you can imagine. Yeah, man.
How old were you when you had her?
So I found out that I was going to have her when I was 20. And, I was like a fucking like knucklehead, not really knowing what I wanted to do with my life. I had like a job, but like wasn't really like, was very carefree, didn't really have or was not at least maintaining any responsibility. Mm-hmm. But, I stepped it up, and, after finding out that I was going to have a kid or I was going to be a father, I did the best I could. And, I learned as I went, I'm not a perfect dad, you know what I'm saying? By all means, I'm far from perfect, but I think that the thing that makes me a good father is that, I know that I can do better. It's kind of a humbling experience to tell your child that, that to say that, I'm wrong, you know what I mean? Mm. Or admit fault. I think growing up in like a traditional like Filipino family, that was almost never the case with like my parents, and I don't, it's not that they didn't do a good job, because they absolutely did. But, there are different avenues to kind of, for like parenting, right? Like providing like support financially. And I think, a lot of the like original Filipinos who came over from the Philippines didn't really have that emotional support. So I try to push that with each one of my kids.
Man, that's super dope, bro, because I feel like that's so important, man. And I can relate so much because obviously I grew up in a Filipino household as well, man. And and before I even continue further with my thought here, man, I want to say that, like, honestly, man, there's no perfect father, there's no perfect person, bro. And I think that there's no book on this shit, bro. Everybody's
No.
parenting style is different. And the more conversations I've had with other parents, whether it be you, some of my other friends, or some of my cousins, it's like they're learning on the fly, just like everybody else, bro. And I think what I've kind of gathered from that is that, like, the kids that are born, they actually teach you shit. They teach you so much.
Absolutely.
Kind of like make you look at life from a completely different perspective. You have to kind of increase your capacity for like some of these emotional kind of things that we're talking about, man. And they kind of they force your hand in a way, but in a good way, right? Like if you're a good-hearted person, if you take care of your kids, obviously, and you obviously do, but it's one of those things that I imagine to be transformative, life-changing. Like, you recognize that you're no longer just living for yourself, right? And I think when you have like a bigger and a greater sense of purpose that way, man, that's when true magic starts to happen, bro, because you really have no choice. You got to push yourself to be the best version of yourself. Like, you can't wait any longer. You can't just fucking bullshit the whole time. You know what I mean? You got mouths to feed and all that, right?
Right.
But going back to growing up in a Filipino household, man, I can totally relate because my dad, God bless his heart, I love the dude. Me and my dad's relationship is super cool now, man. But it wasn't always like this, bro. And when you're a kid, you need certain things, bro. You need presence, you need love, you need attention, you need nurturing, you need nourishment, all that stuff. And my pop was fucking amazing at providing, but he was very he didn't know how to kind of deliver in those other areas because of how he was raised. His father wasn't around like since he was a kid, so he had to learn how to be a man all on his own and how to be a father. Like, he had me when I think like the same age you had your first daughter, like around then, maybe 19 years old. And
wow,
just like you, bro, like, dude, in those early, those teenage years and the early 20s, I was a fucking knucklehead. I can imagine my dad in like
right,
the 50s, 60s, and 80s and all that, bro. Like, they were probably wilding out, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I totally understand. And then coming from that Filipino background where the culture is kind of stricter, kind of, we're hard-nosed people, but we're also soft, like hearted, you know what I'm saying? Like, we work our asses off, but at the same time, I feel like we're like the most hospitable, most kind, like, people you'll ever meet.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's one of the special characteristics that a lot of Filipinos carry, right? Or something that's associated with Filipinos is that we're very kind, right? And it could boil down to like, you remember like going to a friend's house or something, the first thing like their parents say if they're Filipino is like, "Oh, have you eaten?" Right? Or like kind of force feeding you to eat. And I think that's just an example of like how hospitable or how kind like Filipino people can be. It's the relationship I had with my pops, it wasn't the best because I was a knucklehead, right? And he did his best to kind of instill uh, these things like work ethic and beliefs in me. And even though I could have been better at in that relationship, I can still see everything that he's kind of bestowed on me shine through. You know what I mean? And it's easy to kind of cop out and kind of like blame your parents for like all of like the hardships that you've like been through, or maybe like if you are suffering from like some mental health issues. But I've come to the conclusion that it's like you really won't get anywhere if you don't kind of give them that credit or try to understand the trauma that they went through.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like trauma is like suffered through generations. And imagine just like, they kind of like set their roots here in the US, right? They sacrificed everything in order for us to flourish. And at what cost? They might not have been there emotionally, or, we couldn't vibe, or, something like that, but they did their best, and I love my parents for that. My dad passed back in 2002. But, I still think about him like to this day, and I hold no resentment. I love him for everything that he did. Is there some regret? Yeah, sure. Like I wish we could have talked more, but I think that he did his best, and it's shown through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bro, great points. And rest in peace to your father, man. And everything you said was so like connective and relatable to me, man, because I realized the same thing. I've come to the realization in my adult years that like you get nowhere blaming external circumstances for your own missteps or shortcomings or whatever the case may be. But when you kind of like are able to empathize and put yourself in their situation, you understand that they're our parents and our parents and everybody before that, honestly, like everyone's doing the best that they can with what they know. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And I think that when you kind of come to that conclusion, you just start to realize that like you can change the trajectory of your life, man. You don't have to sit there and complain the whole time. Like, of course it sucks. Like some like I want to be very mindful of like other people's circumstances for sure, right? Because there's some circumstances out there that are really difficult and that really need to, and I don't want to discount or minimize any of that stuff, but at the same time, like I think the message is still the same. I think that like people, once we realize like that, once we take full responsibility for our lives and we just save that energy from blaming other people or other circumstances for our current circumstances, we can then kind of shift that energy and kind of change our lives the way we want it and mold it the way we want it. Is it gonna take time? Of course. Is it gonna take energy? Of course. Is it gonna be easy? No. Is it gonna be hard? Of course it is. But I will tell you, it's fucking worth it. And when you kind of like stop wasting time just blaming and pointing the finger at somebody else for your shortcomings, you can really kind of like maximize the time that you have here in your current life, man. And really fucking, this is a buzzword, man. Manifest a lot of shit in your life the way that you fucking want it to, man. But
yeah,
I think it's one of those, it's really difficult to kind of like get out of that mindset, but it can be done. It's really possible. And what age were you when you started to realize that, man, about like, kind of letting go of that resentment or whatever it was that you were kind of harboring?
To be completely honest, it's a work in progress. It's just kind of these thoughts that you kind of go through growing into an adult. Like I'm far from being the most comfortable in my skin, and just as much as I say these things, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to apply in daily life. Like I'm still human. You know what I mean? And I think that's the important thing, is that everyone's kind of like a work in progress. But I think the proponent that had me kind of like come to these realizations was when the relationship between myself and the mother of my children didn't pan out as expected. We were together for like 14 years, got married, and ultimately we split up. But you know, just because it didn't pan out to what was expected doesn't necessarily define how that relationship should be. You know, I I am so fortunate and so blessed to have an amazing relationship with her, and my current girlfriend, and just I mean, Luann, she's an amazing co-parent, and to this day, I have so much love for her, and I would do anything for her because that's the mother of my children, right? I feel that, like, if I were to just kind of like be a complete asshole and disregard anything that she's going through, or be apathetic to any of her experiences after we split, it'll simply reflect onto the kids. So it's like, why would I do that? Like, these people kind of like all play a part in my life, and I'm kind of all about making sure that everyone eats, right, that everyone's good. And maybe it's like the Filipino in me, you know what I'm saying? um but it's just, I don't know, it's definitely not, it's definitely not the norm, but it's mine. It's our life, and we're, like you said, we're just doing the best and making the best of it.
That's dope, man. For you to maintain that relationship, because I grew up in a broken household, man. You know what I mean? And my mom and pop, they don't talk. They haven't talked in years. And I mean, it's cordial. Like, I think the last time that my mom and dad were in the same room and said some stuff was when my grandma passed away, probably about 10 years ago, maybe a little. Oh, hold on one second. I think my internet was unstable. Oh, we good. All right, my bad. Jumping back into what
Interesting question.
Jumping back into what I was saying, man. I think the last time my parents really spoke, bro, was years ago, and it was just like a few words, for my dad showing respect to my grandma when she passed. And that's why I commend you, bro, because it takes a certain personality to be able to maintain a healthy relationship for the greater good, which is your kids, right? And I think you're absolutely right. Coming from that perspective, I can honestly say that, like, I'm sure your kids can respect it and appreciate the fact that y'all are more than cordial, from what it sounds like. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all have a great relationship, and it's for the kids, you know what I'm saying? And you still have like love for each other, which is fucking dope, because I think that just because it didn't work out with the two of y'all doesn't mean that, like, y'all wish any ill will towards each other, or like y'all, right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's still it just didn't work out. Like, but like, you're the mother of my kids, you're the father of her children, right? So it's like, right. There has to be that level of understanding, respect, and still, it's still based on love, you know what I'm saying? But you could still live your life. Like, it just didn't work out. Yeah. That's just how life is sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
When we first got together, I always said that, and even to this day, because we still argue. I mean, it's human nature, you know what I'm saying? People will like butt heads, but at the end of the day, we know that we're there for each other, and she'll forever be part of the family. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter, like, if it didn't work out, she'll always be part of that family.
Yeah, totally, man. And growing up Filipino, man, we know family is everything, right? Like,
yeah,
especially how I was raised, man. Like, I hold family at like the highest order, pretty much, man. And you seem like the same way, man. And it's so cool that you can manage a healthy dynamic like that, because a lot of people, man, it's really difficult to do that. I know for myself, I've had relationships fail, and I mean, we haven't spoken, some of my ex-girlfriends, we haven't spoken. God, my last ex-girlfriend, I haven't spoke to her in like 2 years. And I think that's really what happens, right? I mean, granted, I don't have any kids with them or anything like that.
Right.
So like, there's really no need for us to communicate anymore. But at the same time, it's just so interesting how you can like be in like such a like personalized relationship, right? And it's so intimate, and then all of a sudden just like never speak again. It's like,
Yeah, bro. I think the same thing. It's like, I see people who like the minute they like break up with their exes or something, right? They'll like scrub them off of like their social media, like they never existed. And that's wild to me. Like, you're gonna tell me, right, that even though it didn't work out, like that joy that was once shared in your life, you can't like, it's just, maybe it's just too hard to like see. If it's like too much to see and it's traumatic, I understand. But like, just to kind of, I don't know, just like not even recognize that relationship, because everyone kind of grows and learns from relationships, right?
totally, man. I think it's like you said, man, everybody's kind of like a work in progress. And I think some people's processes are just different. So, but it really, it's like a head scratcher to me too, because like when I tell a girl or anybody that I love them, I mean that shit, bro. And true love is unconditional in my honest opinion, bro. Now, does that mean that like just because you love somebody, you got to be with that person? No. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think from what I'm hearing from you with your relationship, like, even though it hasn't worked out, like, y'all still got mad love for each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not going to
Yeah.
change. Y'all just can't be together in that type of scenario. You know what I'm saying? And I feel the same way with past relationships and even old friends that like I haven't seen and talked to for a long time that I've had fallouts with and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And it's it's it's,
Mm.
it's but it's so interesting, like certain people, how like you were just kind of like highlighting, man, that they could just like scrub them off their social media and just kind of be done with them. You know what I'm saying? It's just, but I guess like everybody has their own kind of like way of coping with things and processing things, and whatever works for everybody, I guess,
Right.
man. But
Yeah.
I
And
just
we can't hate, right?
yeah, nah, and I feel like, dude, why is my internet tripping? Are you getting that on your? My bad. We might have to edit that stuff out a little later on. Are you getting that like on your shit, like the internet tripping a little bit, or is that just me?
Yeah, it's like super kind of choppy.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. It's good. But yeah, I'm gonna let that shit ride anyway, man. My real folks that follow the Blessed Beyond Measure podcast, they just gonna have to ride it out, thug it out with us. But now, real talk though,
You
bro.
know the vibes.
You know the vibes. You know the vibes. But real talk though, bro. It's I totally feel you, and I hella respect the fact that like you're a big enough man to realize the importance of like maintaining that like healthy relationship with your ex, with your baby mama. You know what I'm saying? For not only for your inner peace and like your like you know your like healthy relationship with her and connection with her, but for your kids. Because like as I mentioned, bro, like I grew up in that, bro. Like, so my mom and dad broke up when I was 8, man, and they were fighting all that shit, bro. And I was at an age, 8 is kind of one of those ages where you kind of like, you kind of understand what's going on, but you don't, you know what I'm saying? And
Right.
it was very confusing to me, man. And I felt that like if things were kind of handled a little better, um, things might have played out differently. Oh, they definitely would have played out differently. But I'm at the space now where I understood that like, they're doing the best that they could with what they knew, you know what I'm saying? And but at the same time, like it definitely could have been handled better. And I think my dad would probably agree, my mom too, but it is what it is. And you really can't just like, you can't blame people for your circumstances like your whole life. You have to kind of like reach a point where you're just like, you know what, man, like you gotta move forward. You gotta like stop fucking pointing the blame and move forward. That's why like I can appreciate a person like yourself making sure that like that was always going to be important to you, to make sure that your relationship was good with your baby mom for your kids and shit like that, bro. So that's dope. Kudos to you,
Yeah.
man.
And I want to kind of go off of what you're saying, where it's like, not blaming your shortcomings or anything that you kind of are suffering in your current life on other people, right? I just, even me, there's some, everyone kind of has their demons, and I think, up to a certain point, you kind of have to take hold of it and do the best you can to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
Therapy or just like, meditation, right? I know that you do a lot of meditation, and it's kind of like trying to find a deeper inner peace or an inner calm, or just a deeper understanding. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
I think it's once you take that step that things will eventually get better.
I think you're absolutely right, bro. And it's one of those things, man. Like, I never knew how much work it took to actually kind of like get to that space where, you see things a lot more clearer. I never even knew that there was these resources, bro, like therapy, like meditation. I like, for instance, for therapy, my stigma behind therapy was like so fucking, like it wasn't acceptable to me. Like earlier on in my early years, I used to feel like it was like weak to go seek help or like see a doctor, because like
Right.
they're just going to medicate you and blah blah blah, and like what are people going to think? This was my like lower form of like my lower evolved self, version of myself. And God, that was so stupid. But at the same time, just like you, just like everybody else, I'm a work in progress. And I really didn't have an open mind enough to understand the benefits that came along with being able to articulate how you feel and really kind of just lighten your load by expressing yourself and seeking like direction and guidance from a professional that understands like, how the brain works and how relationships can affect your overall health and well-being. And it's so crazy. And I love the direction that we're all kind of going in now, where that like there's like a higher state of consciousness towards that stuff, you know what I mean? And it's just like,
Right.
I think, going back to kind of growing up Filipino, I kind of modeled my dad in that fashion. Like, you feel a certain type of way, you just hold that fucking shit in and you just fucking
Exactly.
you know what I'm saying? Like, you keep going, like, who gives a fuck? You just like, nobody cares. You got to keep fucking going. But that's like one of the furthest things from the truth, because there are like resources out there that everybody could tap into, especially nowadays. Like, it's a lot more accessible. It's a lot more just readily available. You know what I'm saying? So I had to change my stigma, and you made a reference to meditation, man. And I practice it every single day. It's something that I'm able to kind of like use to anchor myself, to kind of like help me make more progress every single day. Cause like you said, bro, we're all works in progress, man. And I think that's important to really recognize, bro, that there's nobody fucking perfect. Everybody fucking makes mistakes. Everybody fucking has missteps and, shit like that. But at the same time, like, are we going to we're not defined by that, bro. Like, we're defined by how we live our life, how we keep moving, how we grow, evolve and adapt, man. And I think that like this newer generation, man, and you can probably speak on this a lot better than I can, because this new generation, I feel like they're a lot smarter than we were, bro. Speaking for myself personally, like they got these tools that they're just like fucking able to access like way easier at such an early age. And they're just like a lot more emotionally kind of like evolved. They're smarter. Like, I'm sure you can tell me that you can kind of attest to that with the 3 kids that you got.
It's crazy that you say that, because I actually feel that like kids these days, so like what we were talking about, how kind of having that kind of like emotional support growing up, it wasn't as strong as other things, right? I it's funny because I feel that like a lot of the kids now, and that includes like my teenagers, is so in tune with her emotions that at times it can kind of be negative, right? Because there has to be that balance, that like it's okay to like feel your emotions, but there has to be a sense, or just there has to be like a mental toughness. You know what I mean? There has to be that balance, and like you can't just be all mental toughness and be stoic or show no emotion, right? Mm-hmm. But then you can't just be living in your thought or living in your emotions and being incapable of taking anything that you may perceive as negative. you know? So, and you know, that could be attributed to a lot of things like social media, right? It's like these kids, you know, they're like constantly like online, and it's, you know, it's just it's it's just nonstop. You know what I mean? It's like overstimulating. You know, like if let's say for example, like you find out like somebody doesn't like you, and they're like talking shit about you, right? Like you can like find out like right then and there in your DM or like on a IG post, right?
Yeah.
Back when we were kids, right? If we found out somebody didn't like us, it might take a whole weekend. You know what I mean? It might take a while till it comes back to you, and then you're like, oh, well, what's up then? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now it's just I feel like there's an overstimulation that kind of have a negative impact on those who are a bit too emotional.
Yeah, no, great fucking points, bro, because the landscape definitely fucking changed. And, like, I think you're absolutely right. You touched on the word balance. And I think that balance is like, this is just my opinion, but I think balance is like one of the most important things, because you don't want to be too far this way or too far that way. You want to kind of stay in between, and or what works best for you, because at the end of the day, yes, you're absolutely right. Like, if you're kind of like, if you have these resources and it helps you express yourself emotionally and all that stuff, like, that's great and all, but you need to be able to kind of pick up and move forward, because life doesn't stop for nobody. Like, just because you feel a certain type of way, right? Like, you have to be able to kind of like express yourself and let that shit go and move forward. So I think you're absolutely right, and there's a fine line and a fine balance between that, because you're absolutely fucking right. Like, this social dilemma that we're in, right? Have you seen that shit on Netflix, bro? Yeah, and it's
I
like,
haven't now.
oh, you haven't? It's a interesting documentary, man. I always kind of like recommend people to just kind of like check it out, and then they can formulate their own kind of opinion on things. But it's basically what you see. You know what I mean? Like, these kids have access to this like technology, this constant stimulation, this constant, just dopamine hits, and like you said, they have access to like to shit so much faster, that like what you mentioned was absolutely true. Like, when there's cyberbullying, you know what I'm saying? Like, so for you
Yeah,
as a parent, I'm
yeah,
curious,
that's
bro,
crazy, dude.
how do you manage that shit, bro?
I mean, I think I have a lot of talks with my kid and just kind of like a lot of touch bases and just try to see where she's at mentally, understand it, and kind of like, you know, give options and stuff and say, well, I mean, like, what are our options? What can we do? You know, can we push forward? Um, you know, I mean, like sometimes I'll get like, down and dirty and like be like, yo, fuck that bitch, or, fuck that, whatever,
Yeah,
just to kind of give them that support. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's crazy that you talked about that, because like I remember reading something where it's like back in the days, right? You would have to go to like different regions. For example, like if we were here in Daly City, like we used to wear like wear fucking like breakdown t-shirts, like 555 Soul. We used to wear like fucking like we used to like puff our shoes and shit, right?
Yeah.
And then if you were to go to like a different region of the country, right? Maybe a different city in LA, it'd be completely different. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
now, if you look at it, no matter where you go, everybody dresses the fucking same.
Mm.
And it's because they can see it, right? They see it like on their social media, and then they just fucking take it and run with it. So it's crazy.
Wow, that's interesting, man. Now that you mentioned that, because it's like a lot of why we even dressed the way we did, bro, was like to try to express our individuality, or kind of like, like show our style type shit, kind of what we sided with. But that's right, dude. Like, with everything on the internet, bro, you can be on this side of the fucking earth and see what people are doing on the other side of the earth, and follow that trend. And you're right. Like, I do look at these kids now, and not to poke fun or anything, but they are dressing the same in a lot of ways, man. And now, and
Yeah, man.
what's interesting about style and shit, bro, like, and this is going to be kind of taken into another part of the discussion, and we can kind of loop around back to parenthood if it comes to that. But I think that, like, with style, bro, it always fucking comes back full circle, bro. Like, if you look at what's going on
Absolutely.
right now, bro, I just saw a picture with Drake with a visor, and his visor was upside down. Remember how we used to rock visors, bro, where it was like Fila visor, like the tennis visors, and it would be upside down, but the bill is like facing upwards like this. And then like you could see it now, like they're starting to get back to like baggy clothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be surprised if they start puffing their shoes and like, you know, putting their pants legs up and shit like that. It's gonna be crazy, bro. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? That's one thing that I'm waiting for, because I'm waiting for that, man. Because I see, like, you know, I see it with my kids, and I see it with like people on the internet and the trends. You know, they're going for like a baggier jean. They're going for like vintage tees and, you know, baggier fits.
Right.
But the minute that I see like a kid in Utah puffing his shoes, I will be. That's it. I'm done. I don't need any more internet. I don't need nothing. I'm good. I've lived my life. I've seen it all.
Should we just get ahead of this curve, bro, and just start, you know, bringing it back? I'm gonna get my Sauconys on and K Swisses and shit, bro, and like, you know, we'll be good.
Exactly. Dude. Yeah, man. I'll start putting rubber bands on my pants again, bro. We can do this, man. I think all it takes is one person and a couple of views, bro.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I'm telling you, man. And then Drake will see it and he'll fucking like post a picture, bro, and it's a wrap from there, bro. They better just all I'm saying is they better give us fucking credit, okay?
Yeah, I know they're gonna have like a designer puffer socks.
Yeah, right.
Made by Louis Vuitton.
Dude, our style.
I can't wait.
I loved our styles, like the 90s, and like that shit was a dope ass era to grow up in, man. I really feel that way, dude. Like,
yeah,
it was like, I mean, yeah, it's cool like to have the internet and shit like that, like the technology that it offers, but just like hanging out with your friends, bro, and like fucking doing things outdoors and like doing dumbass shit, bro, was like, it was hella fun, dude. There's nothing like it, man.
Yeah, bro. I like the dumbest shit, dog. Like the dumbest shit. I remember I was like a teenager, and I was in my boys' car, and we were like chasing somebody down, like throwing water balloons. And we must have missed and hit the car ahead of their car. And like this huge like Samoan dude comes out, and we're just like, yo, like fuck this. And we just like backed all the way out of that street and just booked it.
Oh shit, bro.
And then the story started evolving, like, yo, he had a gun. Did you see that? It's like, nah, that was a bat, bro. And you're like, I think it was a gun bat, dog. Like, I don't know, man.
Oh shit, dude. I can relate, bro. The mischief that we got into, man, was, oh dude, it was indescribable. But those were fun times, man. The 90s had a lot going, bro. That's why I feel like this shit, it's starting to come to that, bro, where you can just see, like, even think about it, bro. Like, so people are starting to wear fitted hats more again, whereas not that long ago, like the dad hats really got back in style. You know, I think Chris Brown kind of did that. He got the dad hats back in style. And now you're starting to see fitted hats, more kind of looser, baggier sweats and jeans and stuff like that, like longer hoodies. Yeah. Like, whereas before, like just fairly recently, like it was more tight, like everything was a little more fitted. So it's just so interesting how it's like making its way back around. Like, it's like, I don't know, dude. Like, why do you think that shit happens, bro?
I mean, I think it's always kind of been like that, right? Like fashion at one point has always become like cyclical, where vintage has became, you know, retro has become cool, right? Mm-hmm. You know, like bell bottoms, like, you know, people were like bringing that shit back. And even if they like, you know, it's just cyclical. I think people are always pulling inspiration, and if something hits and it has to be, and maybe it's like inspired by something that was like before, that it'll just catch like wildfire, right?
I think you're right, bro. And I think it's like,
fashion is.
Go ahead.
No, fashion. It's just like it's a whole nother being. It's like a monster, you know?
Totally, bro. And I think like the like influencers have so much control over that, because like again, it's about individuality, I feel like. And when an influencer kind of like plays the contrarian role and kind of is like, he or she does something completely different than like what the current wave is, like that in turn starts to shift the direction of where like the styles are going, you know what I'm saying? And I'm starting to see that more now, bro. And it's just so interesting, bro. But I think you're absolutely right, because it is cyclical. Nothing new is being done here, bro. It's just, you know, like retro, and then eventually somebody's gonna do something different, but like it's not really that different, like, because it's been done before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just pulling kind of like characteristics from other things, kind of like music if you think about it, right? You know, music, like when hip hop first started and stuff, people were like pulling from like funk songs, right? Sampling all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sampling disco, sampling all that other stuff. And then if you hear now like Ty Dolla Sign or you know Mustard, right? DJ Mustard, you can see that they're pulling. It's funny because they're more so pulling samples from R&B songs or songs from our childhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, it's almost kind of like stepped up each decade, like every so often.
Yeah, that's wild, dude. You're absolutely right, bro, because I'm noticing that in songs. I'm like, I fucking know this, like from like an old like 90s song, dude. You know what I'm saying? And it's such a trip, dude. Like, have we reached that fucking those twilight years now, bro, where we're just, we're like the old school heads now?
Bro, for sure. I know for sure. I know for sure we did. You could I knew it when we would listen. If you like still listen to the radio, right?
Uh-huh.
And you listen to like 96.5
KBLX.
KOIT.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. If you listen to like Coit, right? You know, before they play like Hall and Oates and like stuff like that. But then now they're playing like shit that we grew up with.
Right.
And that kind of like, yeah.
Yeah,
It kind of shows us that like we've hit that fucking spot.
Dude, that's hella funny, because I noticed that same thing not that long ago, and that was a while ago. Like KBLX and fucking 98.1 and shit, they'll play like fucking Lil Jon and Usher and like, you know, shit like that, the shit that we were fucking jamming to. Like, so I'm like, damn, bro, like I remember being a kid and hearing my dad, you know, play some of these radio stations, and like they would have like, you know, like his shit, bro, you know, like Sade and like
Right.
Collins and shit like that. Journey, all that shit, right? You know, and like, and now the station that my dad was listening to is now playing our shit. So it's so interesting to see, bro. Holy
yeah, they're playing like Blackstreet and like Adina Howard as like a throwback, and I'm like, bro, like that was just yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's hella funny, dude. But you know what, man? I think just like style, bro, it's cyclical too, bro. Like, and it's all being pulled from other, you know, influences, man. I think that, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how like the music landscape evolves. I was having a conversation actually with my roommates over here, Mark and Mace. We were talking about CLB and Donda, and you know, just kind of like airing our opinions and shit about that. How are you liking those two albums, man?
you know, I think man, we can get into it, dog. So you know, just to preface it, like I love music. Like music is like my being. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't go a day without listening to music. It's, you know, I almost live for it. So, you know, listening to Donda and listening to CLB, no matter how you flip it, they're both kind of mid-ish. You know, they're mid. But if you look at longevity of the whole thing, right? I believe that the Donda album has more longevity than CLB. And the reason why is because, you know, Kanye tends to kind of like push the envelope with the sound, right? It's always kind of like his musicality and seeing what he can do with it, and kind of like melding these different voices to see what comes up. Mm-hmm. Right? We know from like his earlier albums like 808 and Heartbreaks or Yeezus that when they were first kind of like when they first came out, they weren't really received as well as his other albums. Mm-hmm. But like a fine wine, they kind of grow, and when given that time to grow, they become better, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that Donda has the longevity over CLB. And the reason why is because if you look at Drake, a lot of his albums, maybe since, I don't know since when, but it's very formulaic where he kind of has, I think most recently he kind of has his beat switches in the middle of the song. He has like these emotional tracks, and then he has him singing, and then he has like a couple blappers, you know what I'm saying? Like those hard beats, where he just goes off rapping, and then he has all of these features, right? If you look at that, it'll get lost in kind of like everything else that's out there because it sounds like everything else that's out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think Donda will kind of be referred back to. But if you look at both of them, they're pretty mid. Now, if we're talking about new albums, Baby Keem, his newest album, I think it shits on both of those albums.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting you brought Baby Keem's up because I recently heard that it was really, really good. So I think that's the universe telling me that I need to listen to some of that shit. And going back to CLB and Donda, man, I think that it's kind of weird that they both dropped at the same time too, because it kind of it has an effect whether we kind of realize it or not. Like, and I think that there's like some people that are that kind of like see the whole drama that was unfolded between the two of them, like Kanye and Drake, and they're pinned up against each other, and like we have to compare them. But I think you made some great points about both of them, dude. You know what I mean? I do feel the same way about Donda in terms of like it has that potential to kind of be like one where you go back to and you're like, oh yeah, there's some classic songs on this fucking album, bro. Like for me, like I thought that album was like, I finally just listened to it maybe like a week ago, and it's been for me, I've just been enjoying like pretty much all of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's Kanye, bro. Like Kanye is that polarized artist, man, that like you said, bro, he pushes the sound. You know what I'm saying? He's got his own. We were talking about it earlier before we recorded. These motherfuckers are geniuses, whereas they see sounds, bro, and they literally are, like he's the type of person, he's gonna put shit out there. You may not fucking vibe with it like right then and there, but it will. And like you said it earlier, bro, he's ahead of his time. You know what I'm saying? And he tends to do that shit.
Yeah.
And he's like that creative fucking mad scientist, man, that'll just fucking put it out there and let it be what it's gonna be, whether motherfuckers like it right now or like it later on. But either way, motherfuckers are gonna be talking about that shit. Now, Drake, I don't like to make the comparisons between the two just because they're very different music. You know what I mean? Drake is super poppy, bro. Like he's
agree.
He's super, he's radio. So I think the motherfucker is king of the fucking radio, bro. Like he has mastered knowing how to make those commercialized songs, like you said, and he gives you a little bit of everything, which is like, so I think there's a lot to appreciate about both. You know what I'm saying? Like Kanye is like that forward thinking kind of creative mad scientist with the music and the sounds and shit like that you may not rock with right now, but later on you're gonna be like, fucking Kanye, bro. Like, you know, like, but Drake, he's like that motherfucker. He's like, God damn it, Drake, this motherfucker just put another song out there that'll make you move your ass, bro. You know what I'm saying? Or have you fucking humming some shit, or like, you know, it's just super catchy, bro.
Right.
And but like you said, like he's also giving you that like variety, right? Like he'll give you him singing, he'll give you him fucking hella features, hella bars, like some dope beats. Like, so he just gives you a little bit of everything, man. But I think either way, bro, both of them where it's just, I just love music just like you do, bro. And I just appreciate it so much because the level of creativity and courage you have to go out there and put your music out there and allow it to be subjected to millions upon millions of people. It's a vulnerability that not many people know about, bro. And it is, you know, I agree. And if they don't deliver, oh, they get shitted on heavy, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially with the
like,
hype.
It's crazy because, like, you know, just if it's not received well and you've kind of like put in the work in past efforts, it can be brutal. They can be brutal.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just not felt. You know what I'm saying? I completely agree with you that, like, making music and kind of like releasing that is makes the artist very vulnerable, right? So you have to like give props to anyone who's willing to do that for
Totally,
sure.
bro. And you know what, man? It's just like any art, bro. Music is art. Even putting your food out there if you're a chef, you know what I mean? Like just being out there and putting like your stamp out there or putting your brand out there is like a really difficult thing to do, man. And you have to have this level of like you have to have this level of I don't give a fuck what people think, but at the same time, like you have to care enough to
Yeah,
like put your
tough skin,
stamp
man.
out there. Yeah, it's tough, dude. It's super tough, but
Yeah, you gotta have that.
yeah. But I was gonna say that like
Yeah,
with like with art, bro, it's all subjective. If you think about it, I don't know if you caught do you listen to Tyler the Creator at all?
I love Tyler the Creator. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you happen to catch his interview with Ebro on I think I forget what radio station that was. But there was an interview he did recently where he was talking about point of reference and how interesting point of reference really is. And if he broke it down to where it's just like, bro, like this person can have an opinion about his music, and so can this person, and neither one of them are wrong because it's
Yeah,
from each individual point of reference. So, and
right.
that's like the beauty of like art and music. And when you're talking about it and we're having like conversations like we're doing now, like we're subjecting our thoughts to what it is, man. And those motherfuckers like are at a level that not many people can get to, bro. And it's to me it's
Yeah.
unfathomable, bro. Like I just commend anybody that gets out there on that stage, bro. It's crazy, that arena.
You know, like that's very interesting now that I think about it, what you said with the whole Tyler interview and how he, pointed out like or respected everyone's kind of like point of reference, right? You may not like his music because of your certain point of reference, and he respects that, right? And I think if we were to round it back to everything that we talked about, it's like everyone kind of has their own point of reference in their life and what they're going through. You know what I'm saying? And I think what's key, and I believe this wholeheartedly, that it's compassion, right? Compassion is key in understanding. You know, I may not live like how another person lives, or you may not live how I live, or everyone has their own shit, but you can still be compassionate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think, dude, I think you hit the nail on the head, bro. Because underneath all of that stuff, bro, and why we appreciate music and why we even express our opinions is because we care, bro. And like I think that like for artists like Drake and Kanye, we hold them to such high regards because they've delivered for, you know, like at least a decade now with with what they've been doing. You know what I mean? And it's
yeah, for sure.
the bar is continuously set higher and higher, and it's crazy. And we kind of touched on it earlier, like nothing new is being done, bro, under the sun. It's really just like they're kind of like they're trying to give you new versions of themselves, new sounds and shit like that, but at the same time, like it's like everything's kind of being influenced from the past. Like Kanye is a master of like going in the past and finding sounds and finding old, and so is Drake in his own way, bro. Like that one song that he has called Race My Mind, I didn't even realize he was fucking taking the melody uh from a Rick James song, Give It To Me Baby, and he was putting his own spin
Oh,
on it.
really?
Yeah, listen, go back and listen to that song again, and then listen to Rick James Give It To Me Baby, and you'll be like, whoa, what the fuck, bro? Like, because like it sound like it's such a good song. For me, it was such a good song, because it's like melodic, like it's super catchy, and it was I thought the content of the song was really dope. But then like my homie was like, he was like, bro, you know where that sound's coming from, right? And I was like, sounds familiar, but I don't know where it's at. And he was like, bro, that's Rick James. That's Give It To Me Baby. And I was like, whoa, it fucking is, bro. I like played it like right after, and I was like, that's fucking Rick James. So they're masters of like going back in time, bro, and finding like these dope ass sounds and these dope ass songs where and kind of he does the same thing like Overnight Celebrity, the one with Twista Man. He sampled these songs, right? But that one specifically was a dope ass song by it's an old school song, bro. I'm gonna have to look it up, but dude, these guys are just awesome fucking talents, bro. And like I just appreciate them, bro. It's like, there's the whole saying nowadays, man. It's like, give these motherfuckers their flowers, bro, because they fucking deserve it, bro. Like they've been doing this for a long fucking time, and they deserve that shit, bro. Oh, it's a song called "Cause I Love You" by Lenny Williams. He sampled that shit for Overnight Celebrity, and it's such a fucking good song, bro. Like if you go back and listen to that song, and then listen to that song with Twista called Overnight Celebrity, it's crazy, bro. These guys are I wouldn't even know where to begin with this music shit, bro. Like if I got my career going, you know what I mean?
So I love the art of sampling, right? Like, and I dig a lot. And, I think the one sample that like always sticks out in my mind that I respect the most is what's that?
Yo. All right, you all. We're back online. We had a little mishap with my internet connection. My bad. But my guy Rommel is back online, and we were talking about sampling and digging in the crates a little bit, man. So go ahead and get back to your thought, bro.
Yeah, man. I love the art of sampling, and I'm always digging to find like other samples and hear where it originally comes from, and just jam it out to that original. But I think the one sample that always sticks out in my head that I think is the craziest sample is ODB's "Ooh Baby I Like It Raw," right? That piano hit that was sampled from the first note on Stevie Wonder's "Knocks Me Off My Feet."
Oh shit!
Yeah,
I gotta check that out, bro.
Yeah, check that out, man. And they just flipped it. It's crazy,
dude. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go do that, man. I'm trying to think because I love that song too, man. Both songs actually. Stevie Wonder's he's a god.
Genius, bro.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to definitely check that out. You're absolutely right, though, man. Sampling is a big part of like the game, and I think that like a lot of these youngsters, man, they probably don't even recognize like some of these sounds are coming from. They're being derived from them old school songs, bro. But they're fucking vibing out to it, man. You know what I'm saying? But like real ones know, man, that these guys are they're digging in the crates themselves and they're finding some like old school samples so that can kind of play out. I mean, even Drake, right? Like if you think about it, off the what was that one song that he did with YG? He sampled like he kind of like put together.
Oh yeah, that was like verse wise, right? He did that with the Rapping Fortes.
Exactly.
And that was kind of controversial in a sense because it was like, yo, like he's basically just rapping his song, right?
Yeah, exactly, bro. But I think Drake, from what I know, he actually pays like royalties, man. He'll like does that. He'll make sure he fucking sends over, whatever he owes to kind of sample that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think there's been other artists who've done that before too. Like Jay-Z, I think did that with like Biggie's lyrics in a couple songs or something like that. So he definitely wasn't the first one.
Yeah, and like I can imagine, bro. Like while we're on this subject, and we will wrap it up here in a little bit because we just got a little long winded, huh? It's been fun conversation, bro. But I want to say that like I forget what song it was. I think it was the end of Forest Hills Drive when J. Cole was like he was kind of like just venting a little bit about like, oh, motherfuckers shouldn't make it this hard to fucking release samples because like, like if you made that music and you put it out into the universe, it inspired a motherfucker, like it shouldn't be this hard to fucking get samples. So I can imagine like for any artist or any beat makers or whatever the case may be that are looking to kind of like go in that direction and find inspiration from old school songs, like they have to go through so many hoops just to like put that song out because they have to get to the originator of it. Like it's got to be released. There's all sorts of legal shit, man. But I think that that's one of the biggest reasons why some projects really don't get released as early as we want them to sometimes, because they kind of face these like hurdles that they kind of encounter before they release it, because it's like, oh, we can't release this. We don't want to get fucking sued for this shit. So yeah, it's interesting, right? Because like, you know which song I'm referring to with J. Cole at the end there, where he's kind of like where he's kind
I don't know
about that shit.
But I feel it though. I mean, like I've like kind of like fell into many rabbit holes of like artists who have been sampled, you know, like Bob James, and he kind of like goes through a couple of like songs that have sampled him, and he kind of, you know, he kind of gives his input, you know. I think one song that comes to mind was Hieroglyphics. They I think it was called Taxi. I don't know, but they sampled the theme song to Taxi Cab. And I think I don't know if it was Bob James, but whoever made that original song wasn't vibing with it. And it was basically like he said, like, you know, I don't think the artist did enough to do justice. And he basically, I think he nixed the whole thing, but you could find it on like YouTube or something.
And that's an interesting point too, right? Because like it is that artist's right to kind of be like, hey man, you're fucking with my product here, you know what I mean? Like if they don't agree with the sound and the twist that you're putting on it, like I think that is that person's right to be able to be like, nah, bro, I'm not gonna let you fuck my shit up. But at the same time, like I do side with I see that, but I side more along the lines with J. Cole. Like music is like it's one of the many ways that connect us all, bro. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's like I've always said this, bro. Music, like there's a song for every mood, every situation, every fucking emotion, you know, like out there, bro. So like when you're feeling all the fucking alone, there's a song that someone fucking wrote to show you that you're not all alone. Because like if you're feeling something like you're like, I'm the only motherfucker on this planet that feels this way. Nah,
you're like, no, you're not.
No, you're not, motherfucker. There's like millions of other motherfuckers that feel that same way. So you're never really alone. And that's the one thing I love about music too. It's just like, so we're all connected, bro. And it just reminds us constantly. So with that being said, I feel like, yo, you put your music out there, bro. It's like your gift to everybody, bro. It's like your gift to the community. And it should be kind of like, people should be allowed to kind of like experiment with it, as long as they're not fucking like, you know,
desecrating it or something. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, because that I think that would be the difference, right? But if you're doing it and you're kind of like using it to kind of help elevate your musical sound, or kind of like help you express like whatever your song is going to be about, then I think that's totally fine. But you know, I get it though. Everybody has their own kind of like way of doing things, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I think that's a cool thing that we're both fucking like big music heads. We're gonna have to kind of like revisit these discussions at some point, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? But before we get on out of here, bro, because I know we're pressed for time and shit over here, but is there anything that you wanted to kind of like touch on before we get up out of here?
No, man, I'm just you know, I'm very grateful for the time and the chance to come on here and just talk, bro. Just to talk to you, man. I appreciate it.
Sure. Absolutely, brother. It's been a pleasure, man. And like I said, we've been meaning to do this for a while, and it was a fun conversation, dude. And dude, if you're down ever, you know, in the future, man, we can make this happen again, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we got to do that DMT episode, man.
I know, bro. We do, man. We do. I probably won't partake in any of the DMT, but I'll talk to you. I'll be like your Sherpa, bro.
Yeah, I need you to. You'll be like the color commentator.
Yeah, we'll put like a camera up, bro, and like I'll kind of walk you through your trip, bro. That would be fucking cool, man. But yeah, man, I appreciate you for taking the time and coming on here, bro. It really means a lot to me that you've blessed the Blessed Beyond Measure podcast with your presence. Let folks know how they can contact you, bro, on Instagram and all that stuff, if you're cool with that.
Oh yeah, you can. Well, it's a private account, but you can add me on Kumo B, and you know, we'll see what's up.
So I'll put your little Instagram handle on here and all that shit, man. So there's a lot of people I'm pretty sure can relate to this conversation. But I appreciate you, bro. But everybody that tuned in and is listening all the way to the end of this episode, hope y'all enjoyed. Hope y'all got a ton of value out of this. And until the next time, man, stay blessed. Peace, y'all.
Peace, y'all.